Both seem to be true at the same time. We are bound to a painful existence and a lifetime where we need healing, and it is in our healing we recognize that we are whole and complete. By recognizing you need healing, you heal. And by recognizing you are a beautiful mess, you become free. It will become more apparent to us that we are what we seek, the Holy Grail. Through the power of acceptance and forgiveness, we will neutralize our energy or anything that befalls us and reset anything that has happened to us and become a magnet for our joyful destiny. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel, Beautiful Awakening with Shantia. So for today's lesson in the Alchemy Volume 1 series is we're talking about healing, and we're going to be talking about the art of healing. So I will be doing a slideshow, and then I will be sharing my notes as well. The reason why I chose to do this topic is because I feel like sometimes healing has felt like a very complex equation where I just couldn't even figure out if I was healing. Am I doing it? Am I not doing it? Is this the way to do it? And I realized that through our journey of trying to uncover what healing is, we're actually learning, right? Because you're sort of exploring the boundaries, or you're exploring the limitations of how certain situations work. And sometimes you don't know how it works until you do what doesn't work. So today I'm going to share my findings on it based off of my own intuition, my own experience. And as you guys know, I like to channel a lot of information, but some of this also comes from insight I've also gotten from teachers who have helped me in my life as well. So let's get started. Let's talk about the art of healing. So looking at our table of contents, we're going to be talking about what is healing, why do we need to heal, and how we heal. So I broke it down into 3 parts for the how we heal. I'm going to be talking about the Last Judgment and the story from the Bible and what that's here to teach us. I'll be also talking about mastering your energy, becoming your own intuitive healer, where we will explore the idea of alchemy and how that works. And then I want to talk about some common themes and examples that show up in our lives. So a lot of us, when we're going through our healing journey, we, for the most part, experience the same themes. And so if I could explore that with you in this presentation, essentially today, this lesson today, that might help to give you some reprieve over how your journey is unfolding, because then you won't feel so confused about what it is that's going on. And then I also have a couple of exercises. So I came up with my own forgiveness practice just to display forgiving in real time, like how it works for us. But Ho'oponopono, which is an ancient Hawaiian practice of self-forgiveness, is also a very common exercise that many people like to use too. And the exercise that I'm talking about is very similar. So I dove into my idea of forgiveness and how it works for me. And then I realized that Ho'oponopono is already a practice that exists of forgiveness that you can look into, and there's a reason why this ancient practice is still alive today, is because it works. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with talking about what is healing. So healing is a mystical experience. It is the path of the mystic. It's interwoven into our creative destiny. It is our opportunity to look in the mirror and acknowledge our very human, flawed existence. It is the joy of our deeper truth paired with the bewildered exploration of our wounded DNA. It is the process by which we learn to release emotional baggage and learn to flow with life, be at ease, and raise into the abundant God consciousness of all that is. Both seem to be true at the same time. We are bound to a painful existence and a lifetime where we need healing, And it is in our healing we recognize that we are whole and complete. By recognizing you need healing, you heal. And by recognizing you are a beautiful mess, you become free. So essentially, healing is like a paradox. And I'm going to explore this definition throughout this presentation because we're going to be talking about spiritual bypassing, spiritual responsibility, the shame and guilt that comes with it, and talk more in depth about perhaps some of the struggles that you've had on your healing journey as well. So I broke down the why do we need to heal into 4 parts. We have spiritual responsibility, spiritual perfection, spiritual bypassing, and then we have purification. The way that I see spiritual responsibility is that the reason why we feel called to heal is because we feel like we are broken. We are not broken, but we feel we are broken. We feel a responsibility to mend our broken heart. Spiritual responsibility is a task our ego doesn't want to take on, but our spirit and soul is urging us to take on. We are multi-layered beings. We are born into a circumstance and with a series of stories which very existence is sustained through maintaining the ego's agenda to create endless problems. On the surface, it's the story or trauma. If we go our entire lives never digging into the deeper layers of the soil to get to the root of the cause, the problem will continue to propagate like a fungus, infecting everything near it. Thankfully, there is an antidote, and the antidote is found in the roots. We must become the investigator and uprooter of our stories. If we choose to sit on the surface and believe in the stories in our head, the trauma and wounds will remain unhealed. We will become a prisoner to those stories. We will continue to identify as broken, when in truth, our brokenness is a mask distorting our wholeness and completeness. That, I think, sums it up. I remember when I was watching one of the Red Table Talk conversations Will Smith was having with his wife, Jada, and he said something to the extent of, "We are broken." And I remember that hurting just to hear him say that, because those are concepts and ideas that I have always been fighting against. I don't want to ever think of myself as broken. I've never wanted anyone to think of themselves as broken. In truth, part of me, I think, resisted that phrase because I don't believe we're actually broken. But if you look at the way that we think, you hear your thoughts, and you hear how you process certain experiences, it seems undeniable that some part of us actually does feel broken. So it's an illusion, but without us delving in and learning why we even feel that way, we won't want to explore our healing journey here. So we feel a spiritual responsibility to work on ourselves. So spiritual perfection is often surrounding the words and the feelings of shame and guilt within us. As we take on the task to heal, we often find ourselves struggling with shame and guilt. Either we feel ashamed at needing to heal or guilty that we are not doing it right. This conflict will make it more apparent that we are using our mind or intellect to seek the healing, knowledge, and solve all our problems, but it simply can't. Healing is not a mathematical equation or a tangible concept. It requires us to be flexible to the present moment and our current needs. This is where we start to realize that every moment asks that we find balance and establish different habits and practices that benefit us. We either become overly identified with needing to heal or strongly desire to alleviate ourselves of the spiritual responsibility by spiritually bypassing. So shame and guilt are the main emotions that we struggle with that is causing or perpetuating the broken stories that we're hearing in our head. And every story you hear about yourself that's negative is about shame or guilt, where either someone is making you feel ashamed, you're making yourself feel ashamed. someone is making you feel guilty, you're making yourself feel guilty about what you think you should be. So spiritual bypassing can be when we encounter revelations that convince us we have done all the work or that we don't need healing. Sometimes this is because we have become aware that we keep putting unnecessary pressure to heal and fix ourselves, which is only increasing our shame. Truly, spiritual bypassing is a reminder to take it one day at a time. There is no rush to the finish line, but also acknowledge that the work is never done. Through our journey, we will learn how to identify what that work is. What is the work? So spiritual bypassing is something that we all do when we're on our journey to healing. And so when we're looking at people and we're saying, hey, look at you, spiritual bypassing, you're not doing it right, we're pointing a mirror. We're pointing right back at ourselves. And because we all do it. Because we all feel that pressure of feeling like we're not good enough, and then we're on our healing journey and we feel like we're still not doing it the correct way. We're not doing it right. And that's what motivated me to create this presentation, because I wanted to reflect to other people that there is no right or wrong way to heal. And in fact, if you feel that way in your healing journey, that's perfectly normal. That's the part of the growth process, is you have to learn that you get those emotions, that we put this pressure on ourselves to constantly heal. And the way that we alleviate it sometimes is we experience some kind of revelation and we're like, oh, yes, I'm whole, I'm complete. Yes, it's true. Going back to my definition, yes, we are true. We are whole and complete. But it's our deeper self that is whole and complete. Our person is flawed. Because our person is unstable. It will always be unstable. It thinks that way. It experiences life that way. It will always sort of perceive life through problems. So that's why we work to master our mind, so we no longer let our ego take over. Balance is how we establish, right? When we're talking about spiritual bypassing and perfection and whatnot, we're trying to find some kind of balance with our healing process. And the only way you find balance is by being present. You be present. Sometimes we get caught up in it, and I get caught up in it at times, in the big revelations, in the information, where I'm like, oh, I'm whole and complete, and this is it. But I have to do the day-to-day work. I have to always find a way to be present, and it's a gentle process that we ease into. We ease into the present moment. So there is actually no pressure other than the unnecessary pressure we put on ourselves. But we won't even know that we're doing that until we go through the healing journey and we put that pressure on ourselves, and then we find a way to relieve it. Let's talk about releasing pain and the Samskaras. We are here to learn to purify and release our Samskaras, stored, restless energy that wants to get out. Our thinking patterns and emotions keep them stuck. Our ancestral patterns live in our minds, in our thought patterns and limiting beliefs. We are a culmination of human evolution. All the years of trial, war, and pain live in our minds and are transferred into our body. But as the spirit experiencing the body, we have the ability to transcend the physical, all the while fully experiencing it. When we make the empowered choice to be in this body and experience all that it is here to experience in its journey, we can do our best not to judge it as good or bad. We are here to experience this body. That is the sacrifice, that's the pain, that's the martyrdom that comes with the territory of being human. Physical or emotional pain is caused by resentment to circumstances and resistance to the present moment. Illness, for example, is created by a continuous circuit of negative thoughts. Persistent, intense pain is caused by unresolved or unconscious resentment building in the body. Pain is the body signaling a request to become aware of the resistance, signaling to you to become aware of the resistance and release it. So I know many of us at this point have probably delved into trying to understand how the pain is being created in our bodies. Sometimes the pain that we're experiencing, the physical pain particularly, is a contract that we're here to experience, and it won't just be alleviated through us, trying to find a cure or meditate and eat the best food, but it most certainly will encourage you to take care of yourself, and you'll learn how to take care of yourself because of the pain and you wanting to alleviate yourself of that pain. But sometimes the pain that is caused in us is due to the way that we think, the way that we process certain things. This body is a self-healing machine, instrument, a miraculous instrument. It has the ability to essentially heal itself. So when we're thinking those reoccurring negative thoughts, or we're experiencing some kind of resistance in our body, it does manifest, and it manifests to show us to release the tension if we can. So knowing that our deeper essence is that of wholeness and completeness doesn't excuse us from having to heal, and patiently allow the baggage to fall away as we enter into the energy of stillness. The divine does its magic on us as we allow them to imbue us with light so that we can levitate. When we release pain, we will have to feel it. The releasing process will involve pain and discomfort, but if we can teach ourselves to relax and remain calm, we can bear it gracefully. So this is something I've asked my guides a million times about. This is trying to understand the process of the healing and releasing the baggage. Understanding, well, when is it complete? How do you know you are even healing? How do you know it's sort of done? And they give us messages, and you can find these in the readings that I do. They give us messages to signal where we're at in our healing journey, because we're not just doing it on a lonely level. We're doing it together. We're doing it as a collective. We're working together to do our healing process. So you can find out where you are in your healing journey through collective readings, for sure. You can find out by tuning into yourself. But what makes it more apparent is your knowledge. So we're here to raise into higher levels of consciousness. And when you raise into higher levels of consciousness, the amount of knowledge and wisdom you have access to is signaling where you're at in your healing journey. Because once you become aware of a process and how it works, you know it. And so some part of you, subconsciously even, is working towards that goal. Once you know there is a karmic cycle, once you know that healing is a thing, once you know that you can heal your body, once you become aware of these higher levels of, you get access to ancient knowledge, that's going to trigger something inside of you where something's going to switch on, and it's going to encourage you and urge you to absolutely have to heal, to exit that karmic cycle, to awake, to stay awake, to raise your consciousness. And when we're shedding, we're going through our shedding process. So it's a very much let go and let God and let flow experience. Healing is about grace. It's about experiencing grace, and we have to just allow the process to happen as it needs to. And the best way for us to allow the healing to happen is through stillness, through us not overloading our plate or our mind with unnecessary energy, for us being very intentional about where we put our focus, where we put our energy, how we live out our day and our routine. That can determine how the baggage is able to fall away from us. So the divine does its work. They're imbuing us with light. They're helping us to levitate. We're in this co-creative healing experience with them. And as you release the pain, sometimes you're going to have to grieve. You're going to have to let that go. But also know that, again, you want to watch for what's going on up here and the stories being created in your head, so you can continuously focus on releasing that pain and make sure you're not feeding those stories. Okay, let's talk about how do we heal. So the first part we're going to be talking about is forgiveness and the last judgment, and then mastering your energy, and then learning alchemy and becoming your own intuitive healer. Every single one of us is our own intuitive healer. You don't have to go to a healer to be healed, because we're expanding into this conscious awareness to know that we can do this work for ourselves. But what healers are really good at doing, or teachers, is they're good at demonstrating to you and showing you what is possible. Once you know what's possible, then you can demonstrated. You can do it yourself, just like a kid. Once a kid watches an adult or their parent how something is done, they've essentially acquired that information, and then they start trying to do that on their own too. All right, let's talk about the last judgment. So in the Bible, Acts 17 through 31, I think that's the chapters. I might be incorrect, but I know it starts at chapter 17. They talk about God talks about sending his son Christ on a set day to cast the last judgment. His son Christ is to judge the living and the dead before destroying the old heaven and earth, which is corrupted of sin. So the Bible obviously has a lot of, it's an old book, written a million times and overwritten and underwritten and whatever, has been morphed a million times, has a sort of darker interpretation of what I think is meant to be interpreted a little bit differently here. They make it sound as if God is here to judge the good and the bad, and that's it. Once you're bad, you're out. And that's it. We're going to destroy it all, destroy everything, and it's all gone. And destruction is part of the healing process, but I think we can reinterpret this. So this is the way that I reinterpret it. The last judgment is the completion of a stage in our awakening process, where we relinquish judgment of our circumstances as we go through our dark night of the soul, release our bias, forgive all that was, and make a pact to forgive all that is, and shift into the 7th level of consciousness, Christ consciousness, and embody the new earth. We no longer use our past or beliefs, moral or egoic superiority or inferiority as an excuse to judge ourselves or others. We relinquish judgment and duality. There is no separation. There is no fear. That is my interpretation of the last judgment. And if you do your research, you'll probably pick up some of the similar information pieces there. So the Dark Night of the Soul, if you haven't watched that video yet, I would encourage you to check out that, where I go into depth about the experience of awakening, and I talk about what is the Dark Night of the Soul. It's essentially purification through purgatory. We all have to go through a Dark Night of the Soul where we have to face some kind of hardship. And this is inevitable. It's something that you cannot not face in order for you to stabilize your 7th level of consciousness. Because what it's forcing you to do and pressuring you to do is to release judgment, surrender. So this means that we are no longer pointing the finger to others or ourselves. We are forgiving. We are choosing to open our hearts, keep our heart open, and forgive everything, all that ever happened to us. And you're making a pact to live in forgiveness as well, where you forgive all that is, because life will always reveal some level of discordance or chaos that's going on in the world. And we're going to have to continuously forgive and move through life with a forgiving and open heart, no matter what. Stay dedicated, stay committed to it. It takes commitment. You have to be married to the process in order for you to sustain that. And when you relinquish that, you relinquish judgments. You stop using your past or your beliefs, your moral or egoic superiority or inferiority as an excuse to judge others or yourself. We use our ego to judge others. That's the problem with the ego. We use it to judge certain situations. And that's the thing that's keeping us from experiencing peace. It's not the danger and the chaos in the world. It's us judging it as it's a terrible thing. It's like, yeah, destruction and chaos exists. Is it terrible? We're always going to have an opinion about it. But when we relinquish the opinion and we forgive it and we just say, life is what it is. And also, whatever is going on inside of yourself, your person is always going to be flawed. Your person, your personality will never be perfect. So you're going to have to come to a place where you accept yourself as you are as well. We will then cease the karmic cycle, hit the reset, and embody the new earth. So let's talk about the new earth. The new earth is birthed from within you through Christ's consciousness. As you raise your consciousness, you release judgment through forgiveness. When you forgive, you are forgiven. You shed the shame and the guilt. That is why we forgive. You know how people always say, forgiveness is for you. Deeply inside of ourselves, because we're born with that sin, right? The shame and guilt in our DNA, we have to forgive so that we are forgiven. That is the redemption story. That is that Christ consciousness story. It's about understanding when we forgive, we are forgiven. When we're going around pointing our fingers to other people, shaming them, and saying they're not doing this right and that right, what we're really saying is that I'm ashamed. Because I'm recognizing the shame in you, and I'm triggered. You know, you're essentially saying you're triggered by the shame you're witnessing in someone else because it's triggering the shame inside of you. But when you forgive that person, you relinquish both you and them of that shame. It's a cycle. Everything is a cycle. The new earth, evolution or shift, is a story and opportunity of redemption for humans. In order for us to thrive, we must quicken our evolutionary pace through our consciousness. So I've dove into it with my Which Soul Group Are You video, where I talked about the new earth and the mission. And I've also dove into it for the 144 Sacred Mission video as well, where I talk about our mission here, all humans here on earth, what we're here to do. So the new earth, we're imagining, some people are imagining like they've talked about dimensions and whatnot. The new earth is being birthed through us. It's the way that we carry ourselves. This has been happening for thousands of years. Maybe since the beginning of time, people have been embodying the new earth. The earth is literally going through a shift in consciousness. It's shifting or has shifted, so to speak. And for those who are already open to that level 5 of consciousness, who are open, who are the channelers, the psychics, they're open to believing in more, they're being taken up with that energy. But to truly awaken, it's a choice. Because I've seen people who are not very aware of what's going on, who aren't choosing to wake up. So it has to be a choice of your own. You have to become aware that you have a choice to awaken. You have to understand the importance of the mission of waking up. So if you don't feel that in your heart, it's harder for you to wake up. If you're watching this video, I'm sure you feel it. I'm sure you do. So thankfully, the new earth is an opportunity for redemption. It's our redemption story since the beginning of time, probably, but most certainly 2,000 years ago, when Christ consciousness came to earth, it was very apparent that the new earth is what we were evolving into, and we were being prepared, thanks to the work of Christ and the many other advanced souls. We were being prepared to wake up at this point in time. All right, let's talk about mastering your energy. How do we heal? We master our energy. Our dark night of the soul is a training ground for us to let go and let flow. By integrating our shadow, we eliminate fears that stopped us from moving forward. As doors close and the favor seems to disappear, a focused point of light will demand our attention, showing us the way. Like Neo in the Matrix, we learn to shift reality with our mind and dodge the bullets of despair. Through detachment and learning how to create new inner circuits, we learn how to be flexible and flow like water. As we open our mind, our consciousness will stretch as it expands into higher states and stabilizes them. Illusions will fall away. Truth will be revealed. It will become more apparent to us that we are what we seek, the Holy Grail. Through the power of acceptance and forgiveness, we will neutralize our energy or anything that befalls us and reset anything that has happened to us and become a magnet for our joyful destiny. So we are here to learn how to be flexible. We're not here to mold people or our external reality to be what we want it to be for us to feel good. In order for us to get out of the matrix, we have to go in. So we're here to go in. So one of the quotes that I came up, it was one of my mantras for some time, was that I wanted to stop escaping away from my life, and I wanted to learn how to escape into my life. And I didn't fully know what that meant. I didn't know it was in a way literal, but for a long time I was an escapist, and I didn't really want to deal with the reality of what was unfolding. And I was confused about who I was, what I was here for, what I was here to do. Nothing seemed to resonate with me, even though I clearly had some artistic skills and talents. I didn't know what to do with them because I didn't feel the motivation to truly pursue it and see it through. And for a long time I struggled with that. I was so confused as to why I didn't understand my purpose. I thought, okay, surely I'm doing something I'm good at. People keep saying I'm good at this. This is the path I'm supposed to pursue. But it wasn't working. Something was sort of off. And I know many of us go through that journey where we're like, I don't know what the heck I'm here for. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And I don't know why I'm confused or why it's so hard. Why can't I just get a job like everybody else and do the same old, same old? That's because some part of you is deeply calling to this transformation, to go through this dark night of the soul. So I'm sure many of you have seen The Matrix, or you've at least heard of The Matrix. Honestly, I rewatched the first one, but I have to revamp myself, and I'd love to finish the series from when I was a kid. And I watched this scene where Neo slowed the bullets down. He slowed time down, essentially. He was sort of bending reality. And this is something, especially if you're in that 6th level of consciousness, a lot of people like to talk about, right? Manifesting, shifting reality. But we're not necessarily here to make reality what we want it to be. We're not literally here to slow the bullets down. What we're here to do is we're here to go inside of ourselves, to shift our energy, to neutralize our experience. So we're no longer creating pain circuits from the experience of our external reality. We're learning how to flow like water, so if something pushes, we bend, we don't resist it, right? All that resistance is creating illness inside of us. So we have to learn how to flow and be flexible with our energy so we're not experiencing all this pain and resistance. The pain that we're experiencing is resistance to reality. Like I was talking about my experience of escapism. That was resistance. That's me not wanting to be here, and that's me not solving anything. So when I came up with a new mantra and I decided I wanted to escape into my life, I started wanting to be more present and take an active role in my life. That was a huge step up in me getting out of escapism and taking accountability for my life. So through the power of acceptance and forgiveness, we will neutralize our energy or anything that befalls us, and we will reset anything that has happened to us and become a magnet for our joyful destiny. So there are so many people I know who live with so much shame and guilt towards their past transgressions and their actions that they're ashamed of. That's what I love about Christ consciousness, and if anything, what Christianity is here to teach us is the power of forgiveness. You gotta forgive yourself for whatever you did. Forgive whatever has happened to you, because usually if you hurt someone, it was because someone hurt you. And instead of continuing on that cycle, you have to forgive in order to hit the reset and no longer take a part in that unhealthy cycle that's not working for you. And then you become a magnet for your destiny, which is full of joy. The universe is always, my guides are always telling me, you're here to be happy. And I'm like, I gotta break out of the karmic cycle. I gotta do this work. And they're always like, no, you gotta just enjoy your life and be happy. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that too. But it's so funny how much we resist that sometimes. Okay, let's talk about becoming your own intuitive healer. So sometimes we want to know, what are the practical steps? Like, what do we do to heal? How do we know? And this is what I've come up with. We are our own intuitive healers. No external thing can provide us with relief. We are the medicine we need the most. Will we trust ourselves to mend our broken hearts and choose freedom? So what's helpful if you do a Reiki session or if you're working with a healer is you're essentially entrusting them to access your energy, and you're making space for them to help you tune into healing yourself. So people can't heal us, but they can activate healing in us. It's infectious. Just like pain is infectious, healing is infectious too. When we see people who are healed, who are happy, it's infectious. We want to work on ourselves more. We want to see what else we can do to wake up. But I will also point out that people who are on those lower levels of consciousness have a harder time wanting to heal because their energy is a lot more dense. So it takes quite a bit to jolt them out of their negative circuits. As the intuitive healer, we hold the keys to our alchemy. The pathway to self-guided healing is not easy, but can only be done through the awareness we give it. Anything outside of ourselves is a kind reminder to trust ourselves. Alchemy happens in our heart, which will help us to uncover ancient knowledge and unlock ancient wisdom. While knowledge of the mind is an attempt to know the wisdom in the heart, heart wisdom has no form and is not locked into concepts. The heart is free, but the mind must follow the heart to experience freedom. Our heart wisdom is created from a willingness to let go of self-concepts and expand into a greater awareness of our true self, the free bird. So, Eckhart Tolle is someone who resonated with me from the beginning of my awakening. I absolutely loved his book, The Power of Stillness, The Power of Now, The New Earth. It absolutely seeped into me. What initiated my awakening was The Alchemist. Once I read that, I was like, I need to keep reading. I want to keep feeling whatever this book is making me feel right now. It's making me feel like I know myself, I know who I am, I know where I need to be. And so I started gobbling up the works of Eckhart Tolle. He was absolutely one of my favorites. And one thing Eckhart always encourages is for people to let go of self-concepts or concepts in general. And it's these concepts that actually cause resistance because our nature is freedom. So when we become too identified with the concepts, when we don't understand that we are a character in a play, then we suffer because we get caught up in the illusion of the story, not realizing you are not this. Of course it's uncomfortable, especially at that higher level of consciousness. It's very uncomfortable to think that this is all you are. It's not enough. So, because you want to be everything. You want to be the part of that God consciousness, which is your true home. So you're always going to feel that, but your heart guides you. Your heart guides you. So through my own journey, and what I've been learning just this past couple years is my guides kept telling me to follow my instincts. So there is no perfect, I want to say, modality to healing. There's no perfect process for us. In fact, if you learn how to trust your inner voice, I think you'll find your way through a little quicker, because sometimes when we rely too heavily on teachers outside of ourselves, we're not entrusting the wisdom that's coming from our heart. And that's what you're here to learn and embody, and is that wisdom you're getting from inside of you. Those teachers are activating that wisdom, but you need to learn how to listen to that inner voice. And that's what has helped me to gain confidence in my journey and into taking the next steps that I felt called to do. Is I heard a voice and I would hear words and I would channel information and I would follow the guidance and it would take me somewhere. So that gave me the confidence to know that I was on the right path. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about some of the common themes around healing. So we have soul contracts. So here are some of the common themes that show up in our lives that urge us towards our healing journey. It could be family relationship trauma or dysfunction, poverty and financial issues. It could be career or purpose confusion. It could be health ailments or time. The most frustrating thing of all is the time thing, and the funny thing is time isn't even real, because all that exists is the present moment. But we still feel it, right? You still feel that frustration sometimes of time, of things either not going quick enough or things going too slow. Yeah, things not going quick enough or things going too fast, and you're just afraid of time. You're afraid of aging, and you're afraid of your life passing you by. So karmic soul contracts reach their completion in divine timing. After we make a free will choice to work on ourselves, we will be put in circumstances that cause us distress to help us learn to surrender and release control. Even if the challenging circumstances continue to play out after we have awakened, they will not change until the divine has thoroughly trained us. They are teaching us to reach a state of peace and bliss in the chaos of our circumstances changing. It will be turbulent, but our deeper essence will start to wake up and show us how to achieve the bliss and peace we desire to seek. But more importantly, it will teach us how to stabilize those higher levels of consciousness, that bliss and that peace. All right, so I wanted to share some examples that often show up when we're going through our healing journey. This is pretty much common for almost every single one of us have to experience many of these, most of these, more than likely. So the first one is family and that soul contract and what that's here to teach us. So in my Unlock Karma video, I also talked about 3 areas of life, which is relationships, finances, abundance, and what was the third one? Relationships, money, and I think it was one of the other ones too. Maybe it was like career or health. I think it was health. So family, yeah, your relationships, your health, and your wealth. I talked about those 3 areas and I gave examples of karmic contracts that were here to heal. So your karmic soul contracts are, some people will say, oh, it's because of what you did in your previous past life and, that's why you're being punished. I wouldn't even get caught up. I wouldn't even care about what you did in your past life. It's not that you don't care. It's that it will give you a headache to try to figure out where the karma is coming from. So it's more important for us to figure out how we can heal the karma in the present moment. And it's almost like a paradox because we don't really heal the karma. It's we release, we let go, we make peace with it. We make peace with the contract. So often in relationships, for example, we want to change people. We want them to be or act a certain way so that we feel better. Hey, you if you say it like that, it hurts my feelings. Stop hurting my feelings. When you do that, I don't like it. It irritates me. We're always trying to correct people and tell them, don't do this, don't do that, be this way, act that way. And even if someone is saying, let's just say someone is hurting you, they're disrespectful or they're being mean to you. Hey, stop doing that. That's mean. Why aren't you just treating me respectfully? We can't change people. We're powerless to change people. So you're going to be put in some challenging situations in relationships where people, what keeps you together perhaps is the love and the commonalities, but there's also going to be a huge contrast where you have like completely different philosophies about life. And what a lot of people do, instead of choosing to heal that soul contract, they choose to cling tightly to the relationship or the person. They keep trying to change themselves so that they're perfect for that person, or they keep trying to correct that person so that person becomes perfect for them. And it becomes a painful process. So they're essentially continuing the cycle of pain. And we're here to surrender. So any form of control is going to work against us. When it comes to money, it's the same thing. Some people are going to have to face poverty, contracts, or hardships, or financial issues. And all of this is here to help you wake up. You'll think to yourself, I don't understand. I just want, I don't even want a lot of money. I just want to be okay financially. But the universe is trying to wake you up. So it needs you to not be okay. Because if you're okay, you're not going to wake up. If you don't have some kind of family trauma or dysfunction or childhood trauma that you've grown up with, you're not going to want to heal or to get better. you just won't want. We get lazy by the nature of how we work. So we need something to wake us up, to shake us awake. And poverty is one of those things where you will feel powerless to your physical circumstances and you will have to surrender. When it comes to career and purpose, perhaps you're trying to figure out what the thing is you're here to do. What am I here to do? I just want to be useful. And this is just something that's going to come in divine timing. So when it comes to money as well, when you see through your karmic contracts, it will be completed. The universe is here to give you abundance. So don't ever think that you're here to go your entire lifetime never experiencing abundance. You're like, well, I'm just doomed to poverty. Absolutely not. It's actually a conscious choice. Usually, if you're experiencing those continuous issues, it's because you're being called to raise into a higher level of consciousness. So if you were to take celebrities, for example, let's just take the people who they were able to overcome certain hardships in their life, they pursued their dreams, and they're operating at a level 3 consciousness where they're dreaming big. And so they've created a prosperous life for themselves. That's going to work, and that's going to sustain them for some time. But then some part of their soul is going to feel uneasy sooner or later, and they're going to be called to do some more soul work. So we're always being called to evolve, but some people are either younger in their soul's evolution, younger in their soul's journey, so they're not being called to do as much work as soon. But just know that if you are called to raise into higher levels of consciousness, that's a huge blessing. It's a huge honor. It can mean a few things. It can mean your soul is older, it's more advanced. It means you're ready. It means you're doing the work. It's a graduation. It's a promotion. And if we see it as such, then we would be more willing to take on that task. So when it comes to career and purpose, sometimes you're confused about what you do. You want to be purposeful, but we are here to be. We're here to flow. We're here to be dilettantes. We're here to show the universe where it wants to put us. Sometimes the universe might want to use you here and put you there and put you here, and you have to flow like water. And the universe is testing you, especially if you're here to operate on that 7th level of consciousness. A work, a career, a job or careers will not work for you. You'll have to be fluid. So for some time, none of those will work. And you'll feel like you're just floating, not really accomplishing much of anything. But what you are called to do, what your purpose is, your true purpose, and you'll learn this, and you probably know this by now, is to learn who you are. That is your purpose. You are your purpose. That is how you become purposeful. When it comes to some of your gifts, like maybe you're very good at talking to people, maybe you're very good at architecture or something, there'll be ways in which the universe calls you to express you pursuing your purpose, which is being alive and learning who you are. You'll be called to express it through something at some point in time, but it will know when you're ready. Till then, enjoy the ride, sit back, and relax. So the next one we have here is health ailments. So sometimes for some people, this is a contract where they're given some kind of illness of some sort that is persistent, and they just don't know why. And for a lot of people, health is great because it will shoot you right up into 7th level of consciousness, where you're forced to wake up because your body is just not, you feel extremely powerless and your body is not responding the way you would like it to. So that calls you to heal. It calls you to work on yourself. But truly what you're being called to do is, again, sit into the energy of stillness and surrender, because that's scary. It's like, whoa, if I don't take care of my body, I'm just gonna die. Like, there's so much terror, I'm sure, that comes inside of that one feels and experiences when they're struggling with their health. So that is a huge surrender. Purple flag that is being raised, calling you to let go. And the last soul contract that we have put on ourselves often is time. The timing. Divine timing. Divine timing is the best timing. It's right on time. I don't know how many times I've watched people who so desperately wanted certain situations to happen, and then they forced them to happen only to realize it wasn't the right fit. because you're learning, you cannot force it. So I remember when I was pursuing college, I was like, oh, I really have to make this happen, because I had taken a year off after high school, and I was like, I don't know where to go, what to do, because it was really weird and confusing. Like, I was going through a depressing era right around senior year or junior year. I started to feel this like pressure on me emotionally. I wouldn't even say suddenly. I was always a sensitive kid, but I started to feel a heavier pressure on me. And then after graduation, I felt so lost and confused. And I just did not get the work thing. I didn't get it. I didn't get the job thing to make the money. I was like, I want to do something I love. Like, I don't want to work for money. And so I spent that year trying to figure out what to do and just feeling so ashamed of not having it together like everybody else. I'd gotten scholarships, and then the financial things, my parents just couldn't afford college. So I had to figure out what I was going to do. And I just wasn't prepared. So actually during that year, I spent some time diving into a lot of astrology. A lot. I loved it. I like soaked it up like I was in college. I dove into astrology. I was learning about myself, and I loved it. And then I was also just experiencing a lot of escapism at that time too. And then I had this years later. I was like, okay, I have to make it happen. I really have to make it work. So after I had gotten my AA degree at a community college, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to get my bachelor's, and let's just knock this out. And I was trying so hard to make things happen, and I kept hitting doors. I was like, what is going on? Why is this so hard? Is there something wrong with me? Am I just giving up? Am I not trying hard enough? It was kind of depressing and frustrating for me. But looking back, I can see that the universe was it was teaching me some lessons, but it was trying to redirect me. I just didn't understand at the time what that redirection was. I was still trying so hard to do what everyone else was doing, but in spite of that, I had fun at college. I loved learning. I gained a lot from that experience. And I learned a lot about work ethic. I learned about how I could just make anything I set my mind to. I could kind of make it happen if I really wanted to. But there were so many lessons in my life where I've tried so hard to make it happen, and it worked against me. My first year into my 4-year college of completing my degree, it was my 3rd year technically of college. It was such a pain. It was the worst. It was so stressful. And the year after that, it was stressful, and I had a car accident. It was like the most stressful time of my life. I was like, oh my God, this is like horrible. Like, what is wrong? What is going on? I don't understand. And I started listening to Eckhart Tolle again, because I was like, I need to calm down. I need peace. I was so angry. I was just like angry at everything, and everything didn't feel right. I didn't know what was going on, but essentially the universe was calling me to dive in and to do my inner work and to heal. But I didn't know that at the time. I was just like, something's wrong with me. I don't know what it is, and I don't know why I can't just get it together like everybody else. But I'm going to try to push through, and I did. I knocked out my degree in a couple of years, no problem, and I felt proud of myself, and I felt proud of the work that I created and the artwork. But I was still going through an awakening at the time, and it was really apparent with the artwork that I was creating. It was about an awakening. I just, retrospectively, hindsight is 20/20, right? Okay, so sorry about that, but time. It's not in your timeline. You don't want to force it because you don't know the best timing for you. The universe knows the best timing, so let it figure that out for you. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of the exercises we have here. So the first exercise I have for you guys is that you can make a list of everything that has caused you frustration. So whatever areas of life that have caused you frustration, is it a past relationship? Is it a relationship with a parent? It is a job experience. What are some of the reoccurring thoughts you have in your head? Those are your ancestral patterns. That's your karma playing out. So make a list of whatever that is so you can at least identify it. All right, after you've made that list, make a conscious choice to neutralize your relationship to that thing, to that experience, and accept it. And let out a deep breath. Whatever it was, it happens, and you must make that pact for your own peace to make peace with it. To neutralize your relationship to it, to no longer hold anger, depression, or grief around it. Because we hold that energy around that thing. So make an intention to not hold that energy. You want to neutralize it. The next thing you want to do is think of how that experience has benefited you, and thank the benefits and lessons that it has offered you. How has it benefited you? I know I learned a lot. I learned a lot through my failures. Those were the best experiences in my life. That chaos, I learned about consciousness and energy because I was so angry. So I kept attracting things that were angering me in life at the time. So it forced me to be aware of my energy, to be aware I was creating a ripple effect with my energy. And from that moment on, I was like, I have to work on myself because I'm sending out this energy and it's coming right back to me, and I don't want to experience that. I was always sensitive as a kid, but from that point on, I was aware, like, I really can't just be putting out any kind of energy. I felt the spiritual responsibility even more intensely at that point in time, and I was like, I cannot put out those negative thoughts, or it's not about controlling it, but I became more aware that I was doing it. And so what I would do is I became more aware of my thoughts, and I would watch the thought form, and I would let them go. I wouldn't hold on to them as much. I became more conscious. Okay, so the next step we have here is to acknowledge your part in sustaining that painful experience, to relive it, feed it, and to continuously wound yourself. We participate in wounding ourselves. And so we have to acknowledge that we're doing this to ourselves. The experience usually happens, one time in that moment, but then we take it with us. We take all of that emotional baggage and we keep reliving it over and over and over again. We keep feeding it. People wonder why they keep getting angry and angrier. I'm like, because you keep feeding it. And when you feed it, it's familiar, right? It's very activated. As Eckhart Tolle calls it, the pain body is very activated, very activated. And so in order for you to kill it or put it out, is you have to stop feeding it. Because you're feeding off of the ego, right? It's feeding off of you. Pain body, it's feeding off of you. It's feeding off of your life force, your beautiful life force. It's feeding off of that, and it's turning you against yourself. Our last step here is to make a pact to honor that experience and yourself by moving on. The best thing that you can do is to move on. And say, it happened, all right. I'm ready to move on to the next present moment and the next present moment. It's not necessarily to move on into the future, though. Sure, the divine also always says to expect the best, to expect that things will work out and be fine. But the best place where you can experience that peace, you don't have to wait 10 months from now for you to experience that peace. You can experience it now. I'm going to be peaceful right now. I'm going to give myself the peace right now. Okay, so the next exercise that we have here is Ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono. So I'm going to be reading it here from the Self-Love Oracle book here. I love to use these oracle cards They're thebomb.com, and the writing, the information here is on point. So Ho'oponopono is broken down, is an ancient Hawaiian practice of self-forgiveness, and it's broken down into 4 parts. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. So that's basically my exercise too. So this one existed first, so give Ho'oponopono credit. I just wanted to come up with a literal exercise that you can do using a piece of paper and pencil. But this is an experience or process that you can experience within yourself. So when you practice self-forgiveness, they say that because you're connected to everything, all is forgiven. So it's always funny the way that I channel information, because I got the sentence, when you forgive, you are forgiven, yesterday. And then today I was like, Ho'oponopono. Okay. I'm sorry. I dissolve any disempowering subconscious thoughts. I now center myself. By the way, the author, her name's Akal Pritam. I think that's how you say it. I dissolve any disempowering subconscious thoughts. I now center myself in my heart to calmly contemplate the situation with my inner wisdom, compassion, and understanding. I have the power to move forward without complaining, blaming, or shaming ever again. As I elevate and widen my perspective, I see everything is an opportunity to learn and love more. I am grateful. Please forgive me. I take a deep breath into my heart and feel my universality. I let go of all negative thinking and ego-based fears. I acknowledge I have the power to choose how to protect and project myself. I bless everything with gratitude and let go of the past. I love you. I love myself with all of my heart, and I project my love forward to all. As I open my heart more, I find the courage to face my life. Focus on my strengths and creative destiny with gratitude. I love who I am, my true self, and my infinite potential. Thank you. I thank myself for releasing all disharmonious energy. I wish no one harm, and I understand that holding on to anger and resentment is poisonous. Without any regrets, I thank myself, others, and this situation for teaching me. My inner wisdom sets me free to love. I'm thankful for the power of my heart and my soul's infinite love. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to finish this up quickly before my battery dies. So that took about how long I imagined it was going to take for this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed that and received all that you felt you needed to receive in understanding the art of healing and understanding that it is an intuitive process. It's an abstract process where you get to make lots of mistakes and learn, and there really are no such thing as mistakes. You're just learning, you're stretching, you're processing, you're growing. And to understand that healing is a paradox. It's a place where we seek to work on ourselves and yet find that there is really nothing to work on, but just to allow the natural expression of the God consciousness within us to unfold, for it to open up, for our soul's expression to open up within us and to move out into our experiences. And that's what we're being called to do. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for being here with me. Let me know what you're thinking. Let me know if you have any questions. Like and subscribe to support. Remember, the best thing that you can do is to wake up and to stay awake. Have a beautiful day or evening. See you next time. Bye. Free yourself.